Hi there. In this installment of Iris, we're going to go over how to populate a checkbox within a PDF using a drop-down menu within Iris. So the first thing we want to do is we want to go to the PDF. We want to crack it open by hitting Prepare Forms. And these are the two fields that we're going to focus on. We're going to focus on these two checkboxes. Now, this is a very, very common question amongst all the PDFs out there. The question is something to the effect of, where do you want your monthly statement sent to? Do you want it sent to the business location, or do you want it sent to the legal location? We have this question mapped already in Iris to mirror that, and it is under mailing, it is under business info tab, and the question is mailing address is, and you'll see that there's three options. The first one is to select, second one is legal address, third one is DBA. If you go to our little cheat sheet mapping, you'll notice that that question is here, of course. The first option is select, so there's no number. The second one is legal address, which is a number 2, and the third one is a number 3. So remember how in the drop down to text box video that we use this nomenclature here without the numbers because it could be any option, right? It could be, if this was a text box to drop down menu, it could be either of the options, you know? So you don't need to be specific on where the answer of the question has to populate the PDF. But in this particular case, because there are two options here, there are two checkboxes with very specific answers. This one is the DBA address. This one is the legal business address. What we're going to do is we're going to go back to our PDF mapping, and we're going to take the legal address, copy that nomenclature with the number 2 at the end. We're going to fill this text box in. Okay, hold on. With that nomenclature, and then we're going to go to the options tab. And this is extremely important because, believe me, if you don't do this, the checkbox won't populate properly, and when you're doing your testing, you'll ask yourself, you'll be pulling your hairs out going, why is this checkbox not populating? I've done everything right, you know? And this is the reason. The export value has to be yes. If it isn't yes, if it's no or okay, it is not going to populate. So that value has to be yes. Okay, so we're going to go back to our little mapping, and we're going to take the DBA address with the mailing address and the number 3 at the end. And we're going to go back to the business location tab checkbox, and we're going to populate it right there. We're going to make sure that the export value is yes, and we're going to click close. Then we're going to save this, and we're going to upload it into Iris. If you need a refresher on how to upload the videos, there is a video in the wiki that teaches you how to do that. So I'm not going to do that, and I'm going to go ahead and skip to the next step, which is to go into the PDF mappings. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the Fortress application, which is the one that I was working on. And I'm going to look for this value, these values right here. The mailing address 2 and mailing address 3. Okay. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go and try to find this field. Now, this is the tricky part within Iris. Now you're saying within Iris that it could be either of those answers, but I don't know which answer it's going to be. It's going to either be the business location or it's going to be the legal location, right? So within Iris, um, you're going to have to use the nomenclature without the number. Okay? Now, when after you've uploaded the document into Iris, and when you actually try to map it manually, you'll notice that the fields here for mailing address, you'll only see that there's mailing address 2 and mailing address 3 because those are the corresponding fields that we mapped in the PDF. So in order to create a field within the iris mapping, you actually hit this create button, and in this case you would put mailing address without a number at the end, and then you would hit create fields. And what will happen will this mailing address field will now appear in this drop down menu. So you know what, I'm going to go ahead and delete this field, and I'm going to sync everything, and I'm going to actually create it again. Let's create the field. See, one created field was made, and when I do mailing address, here it is. I'm going to add it. Iris is going to tell me which are the most probable. It's this one. Mailing address is, remember, mailing address is, it's right here. That's the field. And here's the part that's a little different from the other mappings. Instead of choosing drop down to text, we're going to choose checkbox radio button, and we're going to save that. Okay? Because within Iris, you're saying that mailing address is the question, and it has multiple answers, and these multiple answers are going to populate multiple checkboxes, and depending on the answer, it will populate a different checkbox. Okay, so let's go ahead and go back to the lead, and let's take a look. Let's say we're changing this to DBA address. We're going to save that. And let's actually go down and produce this Fortress app. Right here. And you'll see right here under the merchant's monthly statements that it chose the business location, which is the DBA address, and populated it right there. If we end up choosing the legal address, save, and we end up pulling the app again, you will see this time it picked the legal location. And so that's it. That's how you map checkboxes in a PDF to a drop-down menu within Iris.